Hello, I am Ustym Shchohlyk, and here's everything you have to know about American aid packages to Ukraine.
The bill is passed.
Thank you.
$40 billion package in new aid.
Thank you so much.
$40 billion in aid to Ukraine.
Дякую, Америко.
There is a lot of fuss surrounding American support to Ukraine. Some people say that it is too much, some people say that it's not enough. Some say that we should support Ukraine more, and others say that we should concentrate on American economy first. But in this video, I encourage you to take a close look to the facts, to look at the raw numbers. Let's begin. I will start with the general numbers. Especially for you, I have found a great source from the Council on Foreign Affairs, which provided great information about the support to Ukraine. First of all, about the general number. Politicians now manipulate with the general number because you can hear 350 billion, you can hear $500 billion provided to Ukraine. It is inconsistent. So it is now time to look at the numbers provided by Department of Defense official numbers from official statements. During a 3-year period, America has allocated 175 billion for the aid to Ukraine. But it is not the total number, you see. It has to be broken into two main parts. The first one, the aid provided directly to Ukraine, which converts to $106 billion, and the funds allocated to resupply American stockpile of weapon, which is $69 billion. So there is no 350 billion, and definitely not $500 billion. And it is still not the whole story. These $106 billion are also broken into two main parts. The first one is the direct monetary support to the government of Ukraine. It is $33.3 billion. The actual money provided to Ukraine by you, American taxpayers. And the second part of this direct support is weapons. Weapons that do not provide money, that don't create cash flow, that stay in the storages and can't wait to be used once again. With this being said, now I will talk about the actual military support provided to Ukraine. I will start with the support provided to the infantry. At the beginning of the war, Ukraine was in a great need for anti-armor systems because Russian tanks were coming in columns. They were coming all at once in many places. After a couple of weeks of reluctance, America has shipped to us many of them, and they continued shipping it. As of now, in the past 3 years, America has provided our infantry with approximately 109,000 anti-armor systems of different kinds. Those are javelins, tow missiles, and so on, many of them. During this time, America has also supplied us with a pretty big number of sets of body armor and helmets, about 100,000 of them, and a bunch of supplies needed for the infantry, like sleeping bags or medical supplies, and so on, a lot of things. These supplies have helped Ukraine to the greatest extent in the beginning of war and now also. But you have to understand that it is no longer guerrilla warfare as it was in the beginning, and with the guerrilla warfare tactics we can't win the war, no one can. Thus, we have to talk about artillery, which was provided to Ukraine. In the past 3 years, America has provided Ukraine with 270 howitzers with different capabilities and in different calibers. They are not the same, but still they all are needed for different tactical reasons and for different strategies. America has also provided us with 227 mortars, also of different calibers. They also fire for different distances and used in different places, because some of them are lighter and infantry can carry them without any problems, but others, they must be towed by the trucks, for example, to the positions where they can fire from. And last year or year prior, America has provided us with exactly 39 HIMARS systems. They are very helpful, yet we can definitely say that they don't cover all our needs. But I do understand that these numbers don't tell you pretty much anything without the context. So I provide you context. The length of the front line in Ukraine is 3,000 kilometers or 1,860 miles. Since howitzers are more operational and tactical weaponry than mortars, I will talk about them. Using simple math, we can find out the coverage of the howitzers that were provided. Since we have 270 howitzers and 1,860 miles of the front line, we can find out what the coverage of the howitzers is. And it is 14.5 howitzers per 100 mile. Not a convincing number, but okay, here that Ukraine does have many other howitzers from the Soviet era and from other partners. So what is more important are what howitzers shoot. Those are shells. And how many shells did United States provide to Ukraine? As a side note, it is not only quantity that is important for these shells, but also their quality. Guys on the front lines do praise American shells as the most accurate, and they don't wear out artillery barrels as much as other analogs. But remembering Stalin's quote that quantity is quality in its own sake, quantity is still very important. From the official statements, it is easy to find information about the amount of artillery rounds provided. It is approximately 4,290,000 artillery shells. Again, big amount, but what does it tell us? First nuance, those are shells provided during the period of 3 years. So, if we divide this number by 3, we get 1,430,000 shells per year. Let's take a look how much shells Ukraine consumed during the year of 2023. It is 3 million shells. It looks like a big number, but let's do the same math as before. If we divide this number by the number of days in the year and then by the miles of the front line, we will get 4.4 shells fired per mile per day. It is not a big number, absolutely not. And if we do absolutely the same math as before with the shells provided, we get 2.1 shell per mile per day. It is like shipping 2 shells per day for us, I guess, to survive, thank you for that. But these ratios are no use without the comparison, and comparison I give you. France during World War I has produced, manufactured and then used 300 million shells in the span of 4 years. So it is about 75 million shells produced in a year. Hey there, like, subscribe and leave a comment before they find out. I now encourage you to take a close look at the length of the Western Front during World War I. At its greatest extent, it was 440 miles, and now I will make some assumptions for demonstrative purposes. Let's say that France's front during the whole World War I was stagnant and was 310 miles. We have 75 million shells per year and 310 miles. That gives us astonishing 662 shells fired per mile per day. Why can't America make the same? Well, of course, I understand that those technologies were not the same, that those shells were not fired from the same howitzers as now, that the economic system is different from before. But do you really tell me that America now, American economy now, is 315 times less capable than France is during World War I? That's some bullshit. I do think so. Ending the topic about artillery, let's talk about HIMARS. With HIMARS, we were provided with unknown amount of GMLRS rockets. Those are standard rockets for HIMARS systems. Not too far, but pretty good. And later, some ATACMS rockets. It is unknown about their amount. If we had more, we could win more territory from the Russians that took it from us. And do you remember GLSDBs? Ground-launched small diameter gliding bombs. American military analysts and manufacturers told us a lot about their capabilities, that America has a lot of them, whole bunch of them. They can modify them to be capable of firing from HIMARS. We were hyped, we were very hyped, but now there are absolutely no news about it. Why so? I will tell you. Yes, we were provided with GLSDBs, but it so happened that they don't work somehow. As it turned out, when these GLSDBs get to the range of electronic warfare systems, their navigation systems just don't work, and except of hitting the target with 1 to 3 meter radius, it is 3 to 9 feet. It hits in the radius of 10 to 30 meters, which is too big to be useful. That is why Ukrainian armed forces decided not to use them. And you also have to understand one very crucial point. These shells were not provided to us straight from the factory line. They stayed in the storage rooms for a couple of years. They were close to the expirational date, and now they are given to Ukraine. And from those $69 billion allocated for rearmament and resupply, materials were bought and salaries were paid. As a result, it so happened, war in Ukraine provides America with workplaces and economic activity. But let's be honest here. America was never known for their artillery systems. They were more known for their vehicles, for their APSs or armored personnel carriers, and IFVs or infantry fighting vehicles. So let's talk about them. In 3 years, you have provided Ukraine with a wide variety of APCs and IFVs, with Bradleys, Strykers, M113, M1117, ABRAMS, and also medical treatment vehicles. And in total, we get about 2,240 vehicles. Let's see those numbers in the perspective. If we do pretty much the same math as before, we get 4 vehicles per mile per year. But this is still not the whole story. All of these vehicles that were provided to Ukraine are outdated for American army and were soon to be recycled and utilized, which eats money. Besides APCs and IFVs, America has also provided us with other smaller tactical support vehicles like Humvees, which were super modern in mid-1980s. In total, you gave us about 4,600 of such vehicles. You can do the math yourself. But the talk about vehicles isn't over, because we still have tanks. In these 3 years, America has provided Ukraine with T-72Bs. Those are Czech-made Soviet-era old-fashioned tanks created in 1980s, 45 of them. You have to remember this. But you also gave us ABRAMS! 31 pieces of them, to be exact. And in one of the earliest modification, M1A1, that were outmatched already in mid-2000s. And they were produced in the early 1980s. You also had some crazy special armor on them, which you didn't want for Russians to find out about, so you just took that armor from the tanks and gave us them naked. I could talk to you about the UAVs provided right now, but I won't do that, because it wouldn't really make the difference. There is a big variety of systems provided, and there are no exact numbers of them, but they are state-of-the-art, and we acknowledge it in this studio and also on the front lines. But still, most of the UAVs used in the army by now are homemade, because it is cheaper and they are quite effective. They are used and modified for the needs of the battlefield. Thus, I will talk to you about anti-aircraft systems for a little bit. America has provided Ukraine with exactly one Patriot battery. In one Patriot battery, there are about 4 to 8 Patriot launchers and a radar system. There are some crazy modifications with LED touchscreen display, but it is not what we were provided with. We were provided with some very good radar systems, but not as good as you might think. But Patriot missiles are really no joke. They cover the area of around 62-mile radius, or approximately
3,844
square miles. Kyiv city is 320 square miles in the area, and the whole Kyiv Oblast is 5,200 square miles. But in general, in Ukraine, we have 3 Patriot batteries, so we, I guess, can cover 4 oblasts out of 24, give or take. Patriot systems are very good at locating and disarming cruise missiles and even sometimes ballistic missiles, as Ukrainians have shown. But they have a crucial drawback. They are very expensive to fire, and most of the things that fly to us are drones, and it would be way too expensive to fight drones with Patriot systems. But America has provided us with 12 NASAMS systems. They are not as capable as Patriot, but they are much cheaper, they are easier to maintain, and they are still very capable against the cruise missiles. America has provided us with a great variety of defense capabilities, and we are very thankful for that. Still, you have to understand one very crucial point. Defense capabilities that are provided are outdated for the American army. They had to be utilized by now. Yes, they were state-of-the-art in 1980s, in 1990s at best, but still, now you have the opportunity to utilize them without paying any money for that from your pockets. And still, when this weaponry comes to Ukraine, it is accounted as their newer counterparts. So the Bradleys produced in 1980s cost for us exactly the same as the Bradleys produced in 2010s. Furthermore, talking again about that $69 billion that are a part of 8 packages, that is 40% of the 8 package. And those are the money that circulate back into American economy, that just benefits you in all the ways possible. I will conclude this video with not that controversial statement. American aid to Ukraine is a win-win situation for the both sides. you get the economic activity, the utilization of the armament that is no longer good for your army, and we get the arms that are needed for us at this moment. Ukraine provides America with extensive reports about the usage of American arms, especially about the usage of Patriot systems. No one really knew if Patriot systems could shoot down the
Intercontinental.
ballistic missiles, but as it happens, they can, and Ukrainians showed them. Ukraine also provides information about how competitive American arms are against Russian arms and also against North Korean and Chinese arms. It is very crucial information for intelligence, for future modifications, and definitely for assessing general capabilities in the world. I hope and pray that the relationships between United States and Ukraine will improve, that we will have closer military and defense interactions, and that the future will be bright. With all of this being known, I ask you one thing. Answer yourself. Are we thankful enough? Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. See you next time. Peace.